everybody, welcome back to the channel and happy December! It is December 2nd as of the day that I'm recording this, and not gonna lie to you, I kind of have not been feeling very in the holiday spirit. Yesterday I wasn't even aware that it was December until somebody told me, which is very strange because normally I'm very into the Christmas season, so I thought maybe it would be fun to ease myself into the season, and maybe you, if you've been feeling kind of not very Christmassy as I have, I thought it would be fun to talk about some of my Christmas coded book recommendations. And I say coded because these are not actually Christmas books. The thing is, I do not like reading holiday books. So for example, Christmas romances. I don't really like reading about Christmas. You get what I mean? What I like reading about are things that give off that same warm, cozy, kind of nostalgic atmosphere that Christmas gives off. And I think that these books replicate that atmosphere really well. So we are going to be talking about 6 books, each a different genre, which is very fun. The first of which is Tales from the Hinterland by Melissa Albert. This is a collection of short stories all based in the fictional universe of the Hazelwood, which is another of Albert's books. It's a series, I believe, but I haven't really read it. Now the thing with this is the stories are kind of creepy in nature. They're scary, in air quotes. To give you an idea about what I mean by that, here are some of the short story titles. So they're kind of like the original Brothers Grimm fairy tales, which were fairy tales, but they kind of had this scary aspect to them. And while that is, it still is very digestible. I think even a kid would love this. It's very whimsical. I think you can tell from the cover alone. And when you look inside, there are illustrations that match each short story, and each page is adorned with these very beautiful borders that again match the theme of the short story. And as you can see, there are winter themed fairy tales in this, which is very fun. So see, it is kind of a Christmas book. I recommend reading this at night because that's what I did when I read it, and it was such an atmospheric experience. The next book is a romance, which is Second Chance Books by Karina Gaskell, don't know. This is Filipina authored, which is very fun. She also packed this herself, I believe, and even signed it. Don't look at the stamp, that's my stamp, but this is her signature, which is, I love having signed books. So this is a small town romance, and our 2 main characters, as you can see on the cover, we have Nell, who works in real estate, but her passion is really to become a writer. And then we have Thomas Whelan, who is a musician slash photographer working at the bookstore. And the bookstore's name is Second Chance Books, hence the title. Now, I know what you're thinking. Small town bookstore, real estate. Miss Nell has been tasked to go undercover in Second Chance Books to possibly convince them to sell so that the real estate agency can acquire the land and convert it into commercial buildings. But the thing is, Mr. Thomas Whelan turns out to be Miss Nell's childhood friend, and Miss Nell used to have a crush on him. So, childhood friends to lovers. This is very strange because normally I am not the biggest fan of childhood friends to lovers. I just think that it has a tendency to be very boring and lackluster, but I think the reason why this worked for me so much is because it's told in dual perspective. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically told in 2 different point of views. So we have chapters told from Nell's point of view. Alternately, we have chapters from Tom's point of view. And another thing, normally I do not like being in the guy's perspective because it just feels scummy to be in a guy's mind. Let me tell you that. There are a lot of dual POV books that don't do it for me in that aspect, but this did it for me because Tom is such a romantic. He's such a cute guy, both physically and like personality-wise. So I really appreciated his chapters. Actually, they got me very excited. I giggled a lot. And as we all know on this channel, the ultimate mark of a good romance book are the giggles and maybe the feet kicking. And one thing I have to say is that this book is not set in reality per se. The author made up her own world, which is very interesting. As you can see, this is the map of the city where it is set. I have never seen something like this in romance books. Normally you would see this in fantasy because they're made up worlds. So that really added to the very cozy aspect of it. It almost felt like a fairy tale as I was reading it, which was really fun. I didn't expect that going into it, but I enjoyed it a lot. The next book is something I raved about a lot in recent videos, which is They're Going to Love You by Meg Howry. Well, it kind of is a sad book, but the atmosphere of it, the imagery is so cozy. It's set in Brooklyn, or at least for the most part, it's set in Brooklyn in the fall. And technically, fall is not a Christmas season because Christmas is supposed to be in winter. But for somebody like me who lives in a very hot country, I take what I can get. I talk about this more in depth in my previous videos, but for the sake of those who are new to the channel, this is basically a book about biological and found family, as well as the challenges or the obstacles that test our loyalty and our love for each other. It's a very heartfelt book, actually, and something else that really adds to the effect of this book is the imagery, the descriptions, the technique that Meg Howry has. It's the sad kind of cozy, I guess you could say. Next is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Not sure how to pronounce that, but I read this last year in December and I loved it. It is definitely not the best book to start off with if you're just going into classics, but I really love the messaging that it gave. This is about Stevens, who has been a butler his whole life. His father was also a butler, but he's now grown old and the quality of his practice has decreased a little bit, though he would never admit that, so he's gone on vacation. The thing about this is it challenges our concept of productivity and work. It talks about how dedicating our lives to our craft or our work can make us successful, yes, but it can make us miss out on a lot of beautiful and really necessary things in our lives. It's a book that really encourages you to slow down and rethink your relationship with productivity and hustle culture. So I think it's a really good book to read in this season and maybe even towards the new year. A book about a holiday during the holidays. The fifth is another classic, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is kind of debatable. I think some people would consider this an October type of book since it's very fall and gothic in that sense, but I dare say the atmosphere of this book still aligns with that of the December season. I don't know, maybe I just have a twisted perception of what the Christmas atmosphere is, but I still think it's very appropriate because I find it really cozy. Quite similar to the Tales of the Hinterland, this is cozy in a gothic, slightly creepy kind of way. If you don't know what this book is about, it's basically about the doomed tragic romance of Heathcliff, who is a low-ranking servant, for the lack of a better term, and Catherine, who is a noble-born. Through our narrator, whose name I forget, we recount their love story from childhood to adulthood to the eventual passing of Catherine, which I do not think is a spoiler. It's literally told to us in the first chapter of the book. This is not my favorite classic I've ever read, but what redeems it is again the atmosphere and the absolutely haunting monologues. This has a very popular line from it, which I'll flash across the screen. To this day, I cannot get over that line. Bonus points if the copy that you read is tanned and vintage, because then you can sniff it and it just adds to the whole nostalgic effect. And the last book, or the last set of books, because they're a series, which I don't have in physical possession, I wish I had them. It is my life's goal to have all of them so that I can display them on my shelf and I can look at the pretty little spines. I'm talking about the Spiderwick Chronicles by... I actually do not know who this is by. By Tony Ditterlitzy. If you're around my age, which I'm 19, you may have grown up watching the Spiderwick movie, which was by Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon used to have actual budgeted bangers, but now can't say the same for them. But anyway, Spiderwick holds a very special place in my heart. It's such a cozy film, and the book's even cozier. It's just such a nostalgic, warm, whimsical, fairy tale-esque type of book series, and I don't care that it's for kids because I can enjoy what I want to enjoy. In a way, it's kind of like Harry Potter, the vibes it produces. And Harry Potter is another one of those books that aren't Christmas books but still feel like Christmas books. Even the movies, I didn't include them in this video because I've never read the books and I don't ever plan to, because those books are beasts. They are thick. But that is it for this quick recommendation video. If you have any other Christmas coded books, leave them down in the comments so I can add them to my TBR, because I don't really know what I'm reading for December. Actually, this is the first book that I've read for December, or finished. I started this in late November. It's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I absolutely love this book, gave it 4.5 stars. It's not a Christmas book, but I would still recommend it. I'm not too sure if this is the last video I'll be uploading for 2023. I'll probably try to squeeze out one more, but in case this is the last, I just like to say happy holidays to everyone. Thank you for this amazing year, and I have big plans for the next year. I have so many video ideas I want to do. I'm looking forward to reading and talking about more books with you guys, even talk about more movies and shows. Very exciting stuff ahead. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great December ahead. Goodbye. It's really hot, which is not very Christmas, but I have to deal with it because I want to get a video out.